Let's conformal coat our Walksnail Nano V3 transmitter. You see here it is already disassembled and cleaned. Very important to thoroughly clean all the thermal compound. Chemicals used for conformal coating can be sprayed from a pressurized can or applied with a brush. I prefer applying with a brush, and for that there are different options. Chemicals used for conformal coating can be different on its main ingredient. Some are polyurethane based resins, others can be acrylic based, and third type is a blend of acrylic and silicone. All three of those can be found in liquid form to be applied with a brush or in a pressurized can to be sprayed on. The main strength of urethane or polyurethane materials that when they are dried they form very strong and hard skin as a protective layer, and usually can hold up higher temperatures than acrylic based, but acrylic based materials strength is short curing time, so it takes less time to dry, and the strength of this silicone blend is extremely short drying time and very high temperatures. And it's also marked as being soft and flexible. But all three of these examples are thin liquid and dries in a thin coat. None of these three are like thick paste kind of conformal coats. They are not. One example I know that is thick in its consistency and can act also as a barrier, as a potting material, is this silicon-based two-component chemical that you may be seen it in industrial or car electronics. Let's see different pictures. Some of it should be familiar to you, like so. This one, if applied to a board, will dry in a thick layer. And it's two-component solution, so you need to mix two components with the ratio 1:1. Ratio is 1:1 for soft blends, and for hard blends it's different. Here is a visual representation. Here are two bottles, what they are calling A component and B component, which are mixed 1:1, and they give you soft material. And I prefer this option where you need to mix two components, because I have bought many different adhesives and silicone products from China, from AliExpress. You use them once, twice, you leave them, and the second or third time you need them, they already dried in a tube. Like, this is a good example I used to have. It's used to anchor the wires or connectors to prevent them from popping out. So I have bought this adhesive. I used it a few times, then left it for like 5-6 months, and when there was a second use case for it, it was already dried. You will not run into this problem with the two component products, because as long as they are in two different containers, they will not dry. They will not harden.
Another alternative for thick consistency coating material is silicone-based mirror glue. Just find one that you have available locally and read its product description. Most of those glue state that they have a neutral chemical composition. They don't contain acids or other aggressive materials. Is perfect for our use case to cover PCB boards.
Okay, so let's go back to our case. I want to conformal code this digital video transmitter, and all these products, these resins, are thin. They're thin liquids which will creep into gaps and wick into connectors and will cripple them. It will cover the contacts and connectors. It will glue up buttons. It will cover the connector and insulate from good contact. So it's very important for you to prepare your board properly. For example, you can take T7000 glue, which hardens as a rubber. So I just run the bead of glue around the connector and let it dry to form a protective barrier. This glue is also very convenient to fix wires, to secure wires. This example here is made with this glue. It takes time to cure, but it's very convenient. It dries as a hard rubber. But in the case of such connector, there is no way you can protect it with that kind of glue. So what I usually do is take my soldering paste, and soldering paste is perfect filler to fill the gaps and protect them in such way, like here. So I will apply soldering paste inside the connectors. Soldering paste is very good material because it cleans easily and it doesn't affect the contacts. So here you see I filled the connector with the soldering paste. It filled and formed a barrier around the contacts so resin will not creep in. And when it will be dry, I will clean it with the rubbing alcohol or technical spirits. So now let's conformal coat this board. And I will not cover top of the ICs because they need to dissipate heat. Maybe it would be a good idea to use a smaller brush for this particular board because it's quite small. And if I'm really serious about conformal coating the board, I would do it twice. Like I would conformal coat. I would give some time for it to dry and cure, and then I would do a second pass. And now I need to clean up ICs because I don't want that barrier on top of them. I want them to be clean to maximize the heat radiation. Now it will be left to dry. When it will be dry, I will need to reassemble and be cautious. Don't use thermal paste because it's not the right one to be used. Thermal paste is used where two metal parts touch each other, and the thermal paste only fills the micro gaps, small imperfections in the surfaces. It's not formulated to fill the gaps or to be in its volume. For this kind of applications with the video transmitters, use what is called thermal compound. This is one of the examples. It's sold in quite big quantities, so DigiKey repackages them. This is another good example. So these are formulated to be in their volume, to fill the gaps, to hold shape when applied. This is what is used here. So don't try to do a quick job with the thermal paste that you have laying around. Thermal paste is used for cases where metal is touching each other and you need to fill only minor imperfections, scratches. So key points from all this long video. There are three types of conformal coating chemicals: polyurethane based, acrylic based, and silicone based. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses. Also secure your connectors from the coating liquids by forming a glue barrier or filling in with the soldering paste. Let's coat camera. It's not possible to remove a front cover, so I guess it's glued. And that makes sense to form a weatherproof seal to avoid any dust getting onto the sensor. So I guess we will not need to conformal coat this side of the board. Yes. On this side you can see the remnants of some kind of adhesive. Mm, you see, it's not perfectly covered. There is a gap between board and front cover. Look at that light leakage. So we will need to do something about that. But clearly there is some glue. Camera picks up a lot of glare. Watching with my eyes through lenses, I can see clearly that there is remnants of glue, some kind of adhesive, but we will need to seal that gap. And I think the perfect solution will be T7000 glue. When I will reassemble everything, I will just run a bit of glue all around. This T7000 glue is very universal. You can glue plastics with it, and also you can form seals, maybe not seals, but you can tack cables. For example, if I would need to secure this connector in place, I would drop glue here and here, and it would secure it in place, and it will dry as a hard rubber, which is possible to remove with the tweezers. You can just take that blob and remove it without excessive force. I also use this glue as strain relief. For example, here is a external BC, external voltage converter, and here this is a black glue, like T7000 is black, T8000 is the same but clear. It's also good to secure UFL antenna connectors. I will cover contacts with soldering paste to prevent from resin to get in and ruin the connector. Now I realize that first step in this process, I need to form a bead of glue all around to cover that gap you saw earlier, and that way make my life easier when applying coating on top of the board, because if I will not do that prior applying resin, I'm risking of contaminating the lens and sensor, because some excessive resin may get inside, and the resin is quite thin, so it tends to creep in to wick inside the gaps. So yeah, I guess today I will cover now. Now I will let it dry for 2 hours or so. It will not be fully cured through the all depth, but it will be touch dry. Or you can leave it over the night, and next day you will have fully cured lens. So we now protected the connector and protected the lens inside.